again, I did the same thing again, and I wanted to add one more reference. This is an important reference. A guy named Makrowitz, okay, who I actually knew. He's dead now, but he did an amazing study where he took 20 alcoholics that had just gotten through a rehabilitation process, and they'd all under strict control in a hospital, and he approached them. This study could never, ever be done again, ever, anywhere. He approached them and he said, okay, I'm going to give you a reward if you do me a favor. I want you to get drunk and to stay drunk for 2 weeks. And I'm going to provide the alcohol. You have to do it in a hospital, and you'll be supervised, and we're going to take samples of your blood periodically. And so what he found was that the ethanol went up pretty fast in the blood, but the methanol kept on creeping up. Because when you consume that much ethyl alcohol, the methanol can accumulate in the body because it has a hard time leaving the body. It has to compete. Okay, and so he got them drunk and let them stop drinking. He made them stop drinking. They're still in the hospital, still taking their blood every hour during the day, and he brought the ethanol down to 0. Well, there were no withdrawal symptoms at 0 ethanol, none. He had to wait till the methanol started being metabolized. You see, because ethanol, when it's in your blood, does not allow methanol to turn into formaldehyde. And that's the key. Ethanol is the cure for methanol poisoning. Dave, whenever Dave wants to get drunk, he'll smear some sterno, or whatever that stuff is, on his beard. He doesn't have a beard again. And he'll go to the hospital and say, oh God, I just drank some methanol. What's the first thing they do? If there's any doctors here, first thing they do is get you drunk. Small doses of ethyl alcohol for days until the methanol is gone. And that's the only way to save your life. So ethanol is the cure. And yes, what I'm saying is, this is the reason for the U-shaped curve of ethanol consumption. Where doctors have studied large groups of people, especially with heart disease, and they say, okay, look, they were expecting to do a curve. It's okay, no ethanol production is going to be good. A little bit of ethanol is going to start making you sicker, having more heart disease, a little more. They were expecting a straight line. That didn't happen. The first step, 1 alcoholic drink a day, protected people from heart disease, Alzheimer's. Okay. We don't know about multiple sclerosis yet because very few people with multiple sclerosis consume ethanol, which is an interesting thing. But what happened? So they were twice as healthy. 2 drinks a day. They took 6 drinks a day for heart disease before the disease incidence equaled between the two. And so ethanol is protecting them from some of these diseases. I am pinpointing these diseases, 1 that are caused by cigarette smoking, which is high in methanol, and 2 that respond to the U-shaped curve is the diseases that I think are caused by methyl alcohol. Again, the book goes into much more detail. There's the lethal dose. This man has taken the lethal dose of methanol. This rat would have to take 100 times that to succumb. How dangerous is methyl alcohol? I go into this in great detail, the first 6 chapters of my book. A touch of methylated spirits on the skin of an infant can kill with no early signs and death taking days, and no way to detect it. Here's the study. I'll just paraphrase it for you. Basically, what happened was Egypt, kids were getting their vaccinations. They ran out of ethanol to swab the vaccinations. All they could find was red alcohol, they call it. We have red alcohol too, or methylated spirits. They swabbed with that. And what happened was, days later, the kids died. What did they find? Extensive peripheral nerve damage, in view of the very small amounts necessary to produce dire chemical conditions and death in animals, most like men, it is reasonable to assume the practical hazard of human beings may be produced under conditions of apparently trivial exposures to methanol. Okay. We don't know how dangerous methanol is. because we haven't killed enough people with it. But you've read recent stories about people accidentally consuming methanol and just die. And there's no way to bring them back unless you get them early with ethanol, because the damage will have been done. Let's talk about New Zealand. Okay, I used to bring a little jar of, I think I've got a slide of it. Okay, methylated spirits from June 2007 will no longer contain methanol due to concerns raised for years by coroners, medical practitioners, social workers, and the public about damage to the health, and in extreme cases death from methylated spirits containing just 2% methanol. So your methylated spirits in New Zealand have no methanol. As of 2007, no methanol. And the reason I know this is because the last 2 years ago I went to do the lecture and I was going to hold up methyl alcohol, and I knew that methylated spirits, well, that's where the name comes from. It should have it. And I kept on looking at labels and saying, there's no added methanol, no added methanol. And what was going on? Well, this is it. So, the industrial societies in New Zealand have banned methanol in stuff that you use to clean your floors and stuff that you use to wash out your toilets. Okay. But what about the Food Safety Authority? Well, Equal, the sweetener, Equal, which contains aspartame, 951, still contains 2.3% methanol, pure. Okay, and here's the proof. Here's Equal. It contains 21% aspartame. Aspartame's 11% methanol. This product off the shelf contained more methanol than methylated spirits, and they chose to take all of the rest of methanol out of methylated spirits. So what's the disconnect?